Okaeri! Welcome back to my channel, May Between the Pages. My name is Taylor, and today we're going to be doing my August TBR or currently reading list. So I say TBR or currently reading because it's now about halfway through August and I still hadn't posted my to be read, my TBR list, and I've kind of read some of these now. The reason for this is I got really ridiculously sick at the end of July into the beginning of August. As I mentioned in another video, I have been tested. It's not COVID, so thank God for that. But I did have something nasty that made me bedridden for about a week and a half. But finally, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling more vibrant, and I'm ready to record some videos. This month in August, I decided to be real ambitious. I don't know who the hell I think I am, but I took on 2 readthons. The first one is Draconathon, made by Jade over on Jaded Reader. I will be sure to link her down below. This readathon goes all throughout August, and the theme is dragons. Now, if you've watched this channel before, you know I love fantasy, and one of the things I really love about fantasy is dragons. There are 7 different dragons mentioned in the readathon, and each one comes from a different culture or from a different country. This readathon has 2 sets of prompts for each one. The first set is for the dragons in the book, and the second set is for the geographical location of the dragon that the prompts were based on. Does that make sense? For example, the first dragon is named Mizuchi, and this dragon is from Asia, and it has to do with water. So the first set of prompts for this dragon would be water and dragon-based. The second one would be to read a book from Asia, because that's where this dragon is from. 5 of these prompts I decided to follow the geographical aspect, and 2 of them I decided to follow the dragon-based prompts. I'll talk about the prompts and the books that I picked for each prompt shortly, but I'll be sure to link Jade's video down below so you can check out the original announcement video. The second readathon I decided to participate in is quite well known, I believe, but it's the Avatar: The Last Page Turner readathon. Now, technically this readathon only goes from August 1st to August 14th, which is fucking tomorrow. So clearly, I'm not going to finish this TBR by the strict date that they set, but I'm going to extend it for myself because it's my channel and we do what we want here until the end of August. There are multiple hosts for this readathon, but the video that I watched is from Ben over on Ben Reads Books, which I will be sure to link down below. Please go subscribe to him. He is a wonderful creator. So for this readathon, you have 3 prompts for each element, so water, earth, air, fire, and then you have a final 3 prompts for becoming the avatar, achieving the avatar state. Both of these readathons really focus on reading diversely from different cultures, and so there's actually a lot of crossover between the books that I've chosen. I think the best way to do this is to tell you the book that's on my TBR and then tell you which readathon it's associated with and which prompt in each readathon. The first book on my TBR is The Sword of Kaigen. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you'll know that I started maybe the first 10% of this book about 2 months ago. But then it kind of got pushed down my priority list because of a lot of library books that came in that I really wanted to finish before returning them. But that hasn't diminished my desire to read this book. I live in Asia, and I love Asian-based fantasy. I also really love mother characters who are in their mid-30s, mid-40s, and just kick ass, and this book has all of that. So I'm really, really excited to get to this book. This book fulfills prompts for both the Draconathon and the Avatar readathons. For the Draconathon, it fulfills the Mizuchi dragon prompt. So I'm not following the dragon prompt. As far as I'm aware, there are no dragons in this book, but I am following the geographical prompt, which is somewhere in Asia. And for the Avatar Readathon, I'm fulfilling 2 of the prompts from the water section, which is read a book with blue on the cover, clearly blue, read a book with water on the cover, said cover. The second book on my TBR is Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This book fulfills prompts both from the Draconathon and from the Avatar Readathon. For the Draconathon, this book fulfills prompt number 2, which is for the dragon called this dragon. And for this prompt, I'm following the geographical aspect, which is to read a book from Mayan culture or South Africa. For the Avatar Readathon, this book fulfills one of the prompts for the fire section, which is read a book by a Latinx author and with a Latinx main character. I don't know much about Gods of Jade and Shadow, but honestly, that cover is really what pulled me in. And when I read the synopsis, it seems to be like an adventure kind of character growth story. So I can't recall the synopsis so well right now, but from what I remember, it is a girl from Mexico who ends up being sent on a mission from Mayan gods. And it's kind of like a coming-of-age story as she goes through this traveling adventure, and I love traveling adventures, so I'm 100% in for this book. The third book on my TBR is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This book fulfills prompts on both the Draconathon and the Avatar Readthons. For the Draconathon, it fills the prompt number 3 with a dragon titled this wonderful name. For this prompt, I'm going to again be following the geographical option, which is to read a book by a Native American or Indigenous author. And for the Avatar Readathon, this book fulfills the third prompt for the water section, which is also to read a book by an Indigenous or Native American author. As I mentioned in the beginning of this video, I've already read some of the books on this list because we're halfway through August at this point, and one of those books is The Only Good Indians. So this book is a atmospheric horror novel, and when I first read it, I really didn't know what to think, so I had to marinate on it for a day or 2. I'm gonna save my star rating for my wrap-up video, but Deidre from Shade Tree Reads had organized a buddy read for this, and we ended up kind of having a chat about it, those of us who were part of the buddy read, and it really helped me kind of put into perspective certain aspects of this book. And I would highly recommend it to people who like atmospheric, kind of creepy reads, and those of you who want to get some insight into the moral structures that exist in Indigenous or Native American societies. The fourth book on my TBR is The Tea Dragon Society by Katie O'Neill. This book, again, fulfills prompts for the Draconathon and the Avatar Readathon. The Draconathon prompt that this fulfills is the fourth one, which is this amazing name for a dragon. For this prompt, I'm going to be following the dragon version of the prompt, which is to have dragons in the book and to have it be queer. For the Avatar Readathon, this fulfills 2 prompts from the Earth section, which is read a book with a green or a brown cover, and to read a book with nature on the cover. This fulfills both of those. The Tea Dragon Society is another one of those where I've already gotten to this book before I made this video. Again, I'll save star ratings, but I mean, if you can tell by my reaction, I love this book. It is so damn cute. This is a graphic novel about a young protagonist who stumbles upon the world of tea dragons. Tea dragons are tiny little dragons that grow flowers that produce tea from some part of their body. And it's kind of a dying art. And this graphic novel is the story of this protagonist kind of discovering that world and figuring out what it means for her in her life. Very short, very sweet, very worth your time. The fifth book on my TBR is The Picture of Dorian Gray. Now you may recognize this from my TBR last month. I didn't get to it, but I still really want to. This one fulfills a prompt for the Draconathon. It fulfills prompt 5, which is, bitches know I can't say nothing on this channel, this dragon. And I'm going to be focusing on the geographical aspect of this prompt as well, which is to read a book from Wales or from Europe. You may recognize the picture of Dorian Gray from previous TBRs that I've done. Unfortunately, I haven't gotten to it yet, but that does not mean I don't really want to. I really don't. That doesn't mean that I don't want to. Okay. I haven't gotten to it yet, but that doesn't mean that I don't want to. I really do want to get to this. I have downloaded it as an ebook, though I prefer to read classics physically, so we'll see if I can get my hands on it this month. We're pushing it for time, especially with shipping times and costs where I live, but we'll see. The 6th book on my TBR is also going to fulfill a prompt for the Draconathon, and that book is The Last Namsara by Kristen Ciccarelli. This fulfills prompt 6 in the Draconathon, which is for this dragon here. And I'm going to be following the dragon prompt for this one, which is a spirit-based dragon story. I don't know much about The Last Namsara, but I have seen good and bad reviews for this. But my interest has been piqued from a while back about this book. I really don't know almost anything about it. What I do think that I know is it's a coming-of-age story about a young girl becoming a queen with dragons involved, which is why it's part of Draconathon. The 7th book on my TBR is Black Sunday by Toli Ratimi Abraham. This book fulfills prompts from both the Draconathon and the Avatar Readthon. The 7th and last prompt from the Draconathon is for this dragon from Africa. So I will be fulfilling the geographical aspect of this prompt, which is to read a book from Egypt or Africa. I don't remember how I discovered Black Sunday, honestly. It might have been from someone's recommendation videos, or it might have just been from Goodreads reviews, I'm not sure. But either way, this book is about 2 sisters who grow up in Africa. One of them really finds herself through religion, another one finds herself through, I wouldn't say rejecting, but not being part of religion. And it's about those 2 sisters' journeys. I am not a religious person myself, but I love reading about religion and people discussing religion in critical ways. Not just critical, but educational ways. So I'm really intrigued at the intersection of a culture that I'm not familiar with and a religion that I am familiar with in this book. The last 6 books on my TBR focus specifically on the Avatar Readathon prompts. The 8th book on my TBR is Black Girl Unlimited. This fulfills the 3rd prompt in the Earth section of the Avatar Readathon. Read a book with a Black main character written by a Black author. Black Girl Unlimited is another one that I have already gotten to. I read the audiobook for this. It's about a girl who grows up in a not so wonderful environment, but this young Black girl is determined to succeed. And there's an element of, I would call magical realism. I know there's debate as to what is magical realism and what isn't, but I consider this magical realism, where there's a magical element in a mundane world. And she is figuring out how to deal with this magical element that is centered within her. This book is full of hope and sadness and joy and real life consequences. And it's definitely worth your time. I'll go more into it in my wrap up. See, I was like, I'm not going to do star ratings, I'm going to save it. Here I am telling you reviews. Next. The 9th book on my TBR is Crown of Feathers. This fulfills the last 2 prompts in the fire section of the Avatar Readathon. Read a book with a red or an orange cover, and read a book with fire on the cover. Crown of Feathers is a book I don't know much about. All I know is there are phoenix riders, and that means animal companions. Smart animal companions that have thought processes. I'm down for it. I love it. Give it to me. The 10th book on my TBR is Hanakimi, or Hanazakari no Kimitachi e. And this is a manga that I have been reading recently on my channel. So this is the only one that I have physically for this TBR. This book could technically fulfill a lot of the prompts from the air section of the Avatar TBR, but I'm going to use this one for the white cover prompt from that section. Hanakimi is a series that I've been reading on my channel for a while now, and I have the entire series behind me, as you can see here. And this is entirely in Japanese, so I am using Japanese manga to increase my reading skills in Japanese. So while manga or graphic novels are usually quick reads for people, these are not quick reads for me. I use them as study material as well. But this series is wonderful. I read it for the first time in English when I was in high school, and I'm reading it again now in Japanese, at least, 12 years later, and it's as good as I remember it. This is a high quality, gender bender, soft romance with a lot of comedy. So if that sounds like a lot of, keywords you're interested in, I highly recommend that you pick this book up. Number 11 on my TBR is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This book fulfills the third prompt in the air section of the Avatar Readthon, which is read a book with an Asian main character by an Asian author. Jade City is a book that has been recommended to me by every single person who knows me, whether it be just through BookTube or knows me personally. So I am so excited to get to this book. It is an Asian-based fantasy, from what I understand. It is based on Chinese old school mob movies or gang movies, which I am so into. And I actually just started it the other day, and I'm making a vlog of it now, but so far I am loving this book. The 12th and second to last book on my TBR is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This fulfills one of the prompts in the Avatar State section, which is read a book with multiple colors on the cover. As you can see, this is a very colorful book cover. I don't think The Way of Kings needs much of an introduction, but this is the first book in the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. The Stormalong is going along currently. I'm a poet and I didn't even know it. Christ. I'm about 2 months behind on the Stormalong, so yay, love that. But it's in preparation for the 4th book in the Stormlight Archive that is coming out in November. So I am thoroughly enjoying my reread of The Way of Kings right now, but I'm doing it by audiobook and I keep having to return it before I finish it. So I'm really looking forward to getting it back again, maybe in a couple weeks, and finishing out this audiobook, and then eventually moving on to Words of Radiance. And the final book, or books, on my TBR according to the Readthons is The Vanishing Half, or The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. These books fulfill the third prompt in the Avatar State section of this readathon, which refers to a book with a diverse cast written by an author of color. I haven't decided between The Vanishing Half or The City We Became because I don't know what mood I'll be in. The Vanishing Half, from what I understand, is more, not necessarily contemporary, but I guess contemporary or literary fiction. And The City We Became has a more fantastical fantasy aspect to it. But both of these are by authors of color. And from what I understand, they both feature casts that are diverse in how they present and also their backgrounds. The Vanishing Half is about 2 sisters, one who is white passing and one who is not, I believe. And it's about their different experiences in life And The City We Became is about a group of people who represent different sections of New York City, which sounds very diverse to me. And that's pretty much all that I've gotten, that they represent or are the guardians of different sections of New York City. A lot of people that I love and respect have reviewed this and said it is just chef's kiss phenomenal, so I'm really interested to get to it. And finally, because I'm batshit crazy, I have one final book that is external from all of the readathons, and that is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin. This book, this lovely, beautiful physical book, was sent to me by Tammy from Tammy Tries to Read for my birthday because she's amazing. And I already planned on reading this book, but I'm just really glad that I can read it physically. And I had planned on reading it because Tammy is part of a book club with many people that I love, including Katie from Brightness Katie Reads, Sophia from Fantasy Book Addict, and Rue from Rue's Corner, I believe is the name of her channel. And the four of them have created a book club called Chaos Rising Book Club. And this is their first book that they have chosen. And I really wanted to read it along with them. And the fact that Tammy sent it to me so I can read it physically, and I mean, this gorgeous thing can be on my shelves, I'm ready for it. I know almost nothing about this except for that it is an African-based fantasy. I believe it's YA fantasy. And I'm here for it. Finally, that concludes my August TBR. I know this was a bit long and kind of short and clipped, but I tried to make it manageable for those who are watching. Obviously, I have big plans for this month. Like I said, we're about halfway through. There are some books that I've already read, and I've had a really good time with what I've read so far, and I'm really excited to get to the rest of them. Leave a comment down below if you've read any of these, if you're participating in either of these readathons. I'd love to chat with you and hear your experiences down below. But for now, I'm gonna head out. Jenny!